which is decent. Doesn't have great stats or abilities to really back that up. It's not bad, it's just so-so. But if you can turn it into a dragon, I guess. I mean, you're basically turning mana cost instead of gold cost into a dragon for free, basically. I never really did it because I just don't like trying to level them up. They're not particularly great. Efreet is so-so. I'm pretty sure it gets marksmanship. If it doesn't, it's complete garbage. But I'm pretty sure it does. I think that's a typo. But anyways, if it doesn't, it's bad. If it does, it's so-so. Fairy is a piece of shit. Magic Servant's a piece of shit. Minotaur is a decent tanky unit for the cost. It's level 2 or whatever. Level 2 magic. It's got decent tank stats for level 2. You compare it to like level 2 race units, and it pretty much blows them out of the water as far as defense. Northern Glow, I think its only claim to fame is it has static shield. But look at its stats. They're fucking terrible. Water Dancer's a piece of shit. All it really has is phase, but it's a piece of shit. Air Elemental has pretty good stats. Fairly tanky, decent offense. It even has physical protection and magic strike. Probably, I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the best for level 3, but it is decent. It is a good unit. The Bone Dragon has flying, good stats, cause fear, life-stealing, death strike. Easily one of the best level 3. There's very few that can compare to it. It's definitely up there. You combine all that together and it's basically a miniature red dragon with life-stealing. And Black Breath instead of fire. Which Black Breath does debuff as well, so they're both just as good. Actually, I think the fire debuff is slightly better than the curse debuff. But they're both really good. He has slightly less stats than the red dragon, but for it being a summoned unit, which costs you no gold upkeep, it's really, really strong. Earth Elemental, it's a step up from the Minotaur. It's tanky for its level. 14 defense, 25 health. Good stuff. That's really all it's there for. You know, to throw up front and take hits. Fire Elemental, it's the upgrade of the Efreet. This one's melee instead of being ranged. Couple of immunities. Dual Strike. Ignition. Pretty terrible defensive stats. He's more like one of the Blitzkrieg characters. I mean units. Like, let's say the Bone Dragon or something like that. He's more comparable to that. Because his defense is terrible for his level. But he does have Dual Strike, and he does have Ignition, and he does have good attack and so-so damage. So yeah, he has a lot of damage potential to go along with his good attack stat. Good unit. It's going to go down fast. It's going to die really quickly. 9 defense and 20 health, but it's going to do a lot of damage in the process. Water Elemental, it kind of crap, honestly. It has an Elemental Strike and so-so stats, but that's really it. Nothing else is special about it. The Angel is a piece of shit. We're getting into the level 4 ones. These are the really good summoned units. The Angel is a piece of shit because you can directly compare it to the Black Angel. They have the exact same stats, as you can see. They're identical. But the abilities are so much better for the Black Angel. Death Strike instead of Holy Strike, that doesn't really matter. In fact, Holy Strike's probably slightly better because it's less resisted. Everything else is in favor of the Black Angel, though. Life-stealing and Unholy Champion are just straight up better than... What the hell does the Angel get other than that? What, healing and... I think it's just healing and Holy Champion's the other two. That's it. Honestly. And Holy Immunity is garbage. Holy Immunity is terrible. And healing is terrible. Yeah, it comes down to Holy Champion and Holy Strike versus Death Immunity, Death Strike, Life Stealing, and Unholy Champion. You could argue that Unholy Champion and Holy Champion are equal, so we'll just rule that out. Holy Strike versus Death Strike, Holy Strike's better, but Death Immunity versus Holy Immunity, Death Immunity is definitely better. So again, you could argue that those pretty much cancel each other out. All that leaves is Life Stealing. But Life Stealing is fairly huge. On a unit with 16 attack that's going to hit damn near every hit, that's 6 health a turn. So yeah, that's pretty massive. That alone makes the Black Angel unequivocally better. Just straight up. That one ability makes it better. So yeah, Black Angel beats the Angel. Although the Angel's not terrible, it's just not as good. Basilisk is the last in the line of the Earth Elemental summons. And just like the other two, the Minotaur and the Earth Elemental, it's a tank. It also has Doom Gaze, which is fucking amazing. Doom Gaze, if you don't remember, is the Beholder's ranged ability that can paralyze. Crazy good. In this case, you put it on a tank unit that can take a ridiculous amount of punishment and go around paralyzing things. This thing, it ends up getting, what is it? Dual immunity, including fire immunity. Magic Strike. It even gets marksmanship to go along with Doom Gaze. Wall crushing. Just really good abilities overall. And its stats are really good. 14 defense is crazy high, 14 resist is crazy high, 32 health is well above average, 12 damage is well above average. Really the only thing that's at average is his attack stat. But yeah, mostly above average stats, really good abilities, and Doom Gaze, thank you, yes please. So yeah, the Basilisk is a beast. I'd say the Black Angel gives him a run for his money. Straight up because of lifestealing. But honestly, I mean, this is the better, fighting unit. This is the better unit for Doom Gaze. Just a straight up ranged unit. Even though he can brawl. He has Doom Gaze, which is crazy good. So I'd still say the Basilisk wins as far as overall usefulness. The Black Dragon is fucking amazing in stats and abilities and all that, but you can't get him. He's neutral only, sadly. He should have been undead. He should have been the ultimate unit for the undead. But then we wouldn't have the Reaper, so I don't know. He's fucking beast as hell looking. It's really good. In fact, if I remember right, if you straight up compare him to the Red Dragon, they're almost identical. Let's go ahead and do that. Why not? Even though you can't ever get the Black Dragon. Let's do the matchup anyways. Let's see. 16, 12, 25. 16, 12, 35. He has 10 more health. 2 more damage. 2 more resist, same movement. So in base stats, he destroys him. 10 more health is massive. And 2 more damage and 2 more resists for the hell of it. Interesting. As far as abilities, Crossphere, Magic Strike, that's the same. Yeah, Crossphere, Magic Strike. Obviously they're both flying. Vision 4, eventually, that's the same. Marksmanship 2, that's the same. Fire immunity, magic immunity, death immunity, poison immunity. He gets 4 immunities as opposed to 1. So that's obviously better. And he gets the 2 most common too, magic and death. And the one with the worst... He gets the best 4 immunities in the game. Period. Basically all the ones that are of dubious value he doesn't have, but he gets the 4 best. He gets Black Breath instead of Fire Breath. Fire Breath is slightly better. Because Burn is slightly better than Curse, the debuffs attached. He gets Unholy Champion eventually. He's just better, period. The stats are better, the abilities overall are better. He's just better. He beats the Red Dragon. He's pretty damn good. Especially with all those immunities. He literally gets the 4 best immunities in the game. He's really, really good. Plus he looks badass. Chaos Lord is pretty good. He's not the Black Dragon, but he's pretty good. Lots of immunities, lots of good abilities. He's like a miniature Black Dragon, basically, is what he is. But you never get him either. He's all neutral. Gold Dragon, same thing, all neutral. I wonder how he compares to the Black Dragon. Same. That's a typo. It should be Vision 4, because he gets Vision 3 at Silver Medal. Marksmanship 2, the same. Holy Champion versus Unholy, basically the same. Fire immunity, magic. Holy poison. He gets holy instead of death. That's definitely worse. Divine Breath is definitely worse than Black Breath because of the debuff. Yeah, he's definitely worse, but not by much. He's got 1 immunity that's not as good, and he's got a worse breath by a little bit, just because of the debuff. And I think the same stats. So they're slightly different. I'd give the advantage slightly to the Black Dragon. Plus, he looks cooler. I mean, damn. The Great Worm is not a bad unit. It's got so-so stats overall. Its defense is kind of blah for a level 4 unit, but most of his stats are pretty decent. It really comes down to his abilities. Poison immunity and lightning immunity aren't really great, but they're not useless. He gets an Elemental Strike and Lightning Strike, but he also gets Static Shield, which means he can wade in, and when things hit him, they have a chance to get stunned. So yeah, his abilities are decent and his stats are decent. So he's overall decent, just not great. Ice Dragon's a piece of shit because you can straight up compare him to the Bone Dragon, and the Bone Dragon is just better, from what I remember. Let's go ahead and double check. But from what I remember, the Bone Dragon just destroys him. Where is he? And the Bone Dragon's a level fucking 3 unit too, by the way. In case you forgot, we're on level 4 units now, which is what the Ice Dragon is. Let's see, same attack, slightly better defense, slightly better health, way better damage, one more resist. What about the abilities? We've got one dubious immunity and cause fear. Are you shitting me? He doesn't get an elemental strike? What the f... That can't be right. What the hell? And he gets cold breath, which is... I don't know, it's not... It's probably still not as good as Black Breath, because Black Breath has the debuff. Cold Breath just has a chance to stun them for 1 turn or whatever. Whereas the debuff lasts for, I think it's like 4 turns or something like that. But, yeah. Huh. He either doesn't get an elemental strike, or there's some kind of screw up here. Which, like I said, this website isn't perfect. It's very close. I've only seen very few mistakes. But, it's very surprising if he doesn't get Cold Strike. Extremely surprising. If he doesn't, then the damage difference is non-existent. Because Death Strike will make up for that damage difference. It'll put them at the exact same amount of total damage. Assuming the Ice Dragon doesn't get a strike. But, let's see. Same attack, a little bit more health and defense, a little bit more resist. That's not that big of a difference, especially when you consider this guy has Lifesteal. Lifesteal's, with that good of an attack stat, it's probably going to make up for that defense and health difference easily. So, yeah. Assuming he doesn't get an elemental strike, I'd say the Bone Dragon is a better unit for, what is that? 3 less upkeep. 1 level less unit beats out this one. Because this is level 2 and this is level 3. If he doesn't get Cold Strike. If he does get Cold Strike, there's still not a huge difference between them, other than damage. The damage would be significant. But like I said, the lifesteal is going to probably more than make up for 2 defense and 4 health or whatever. But he would hit harder. I can't believe he doesn't get Cold Strike, but whatever. Phoenix. Phoenix is fucking amazing. Really good unit. Really, really strong flying unit. The easiest thing to compare him to is the Red Dragon again, because the Red Dragon's an unequivocal best out of player races for flying units. And they compare pretty damn closely. 16-12, 16-12. He gets 1 more health. Same damage, same resist, same movement. So yeah, the only difference between them in stats is 1 health. That's it. They basically have identical stats. As far as abilities, we've got Magic Strike, Cause Fear, and Fire Immunity, and Fire Breath. Those 4 abilities are the big ones. Yeah. Cause Fear, Magic Strike, Fire Breath, Fire Immunity. Versus Magic Strike, that's the same. Fire Breath, that's the same. He doesn't get Cause Fear. He doesn't get Fire Immunity. So the only thing at the moment the Red Dragon has on him is Cause Fear. Let's see. Resurgence is so-so. Ignition is pretty good. Yeah, the only difference is Resurgence and Ignition versus Cause Fear. I'd say Cause Fear wins, hands down, period. But it doesn't mean the Phoenix is bad. It's still a really good unit. Resurgence means that even if you play really risky with it and get it killed, you'll still get it back for free at the end of the fight, end of the battle. Most of the time, it's pretty hard to get a Red Dragon killed in the first place unless you're fighting like another ultimate or something. It's really hard to get a Red Dragon killed. It's flying, which means it gets to pick its fights, and it's tough as all hell. So, really, Resurgence isn't going to be that big a deal. It really comes down to Ignition versus Cause Fear, and Cause Fear is just better. I'll go ahead and show you Ignition. Burns enemies that strike the unit in melee. So basically it's static shield but with a burn. The problem with that is it's a flying unit. You can't get this unit surrounded and let them wail on it. It's not going to work that way. It's flying. Very few units are even going to be able to hit it. And you can't proc this on ranged units. So it's going to be other flying units or units you're already attacking, which is one unit a turn basically. So ignition on this particular unit is basically garbage, which means the Red Dragon unequivocally wins. Cossphere is just straight up better than Resurgence and Ignition. And 1 health. It's just straight up better. I mean, Cossphere is fucking amazing. So yeah, the Red Dragon wins. Although I think the Phoenix probably looks cooler, in my opinion. Not that that matters. But for the best out of the summoned units, I'd say the best level 4 is probably the Basilisk. Not including the ones you can't actually get, the neutral units. But I'd say the Basilisk is definitely the best. The Phoenix and Black Angel would be second best for level 4. You just can't beat the Basilisk. It's a tanky beast with Doom Gaze. Out of level 2, the one I only use much is Earth Elemental. I like to use Earth Elementals, summon them in mass, and throw them out front and let them take the damage, because they've got really good health and defenses. The Bone Dragon would probably be second, just because he's flying and he's got Life Stealing and Death Strike and Cause Fear and Black Breath and all kinds of good shit. He's really good. I don't really use any of the level 2 ones at all, so I can't really say anything. Out of level 1, definitely the Zephyr Bird, because he has a distinct purpose. He takes mana upkeep and he scouts like a beast. So, those would be the summoned units. That's actually all the units in the game. I've gone through all of them. So, yeah. If I had to rank the races, let's see. Either Nomad or Dark Elf, number 1. Because as a whole race, they have so many good units. Whereas, if you're ignoring Nomad and Dark Elf, the rest of the races have maybe 2 or 3 at best, for the most part. Maybe a couple of them have 4 that fall into the usable category. But Dark Elf and Nomad definitely have the most for a single race. So yeah, one of those 2 best. The Nomad would just be straight up unequivocal best by miles if his ultimate wasn't so lackluster. The Rock wasn't so lackluster. But it is. So, either Nomad or Dark Elf are best. Draconian for second, because like I said, they rule the skies, basically. The Red Dragon, it can't be beat in the air. I mean, except for like Black Dragon, which is a neutral-only unit. You never see it. So, the Red Dragon is the unequivocal beast of the air. And then, not including ultimates, when you go down to level 3, the Flyer is the best. So they have the 2 best for their level in the game, flying units. And flying units are really strong. Let's see, who would be 4th? It's got to be either Shadow Demons or Undead. I want to say Undead, because Undead has more good units other than just their ultimate. They have Spectre, Bone Horror, and Necromancer, along with their ultimate. So I'd say Undead is probably 4th. And then Shadow Demons probably 5th. All they really have is the Stag Mount, other than, and maybe the Harvester, other than their Lord. I don't know, the Spirit's not bad, the Harvester could be really good. The Stag Mount is pretty damn good for level 2. Maybe they're equivalent. Maybe the Shadow Demons and the Undead are overall equivalent, honestly. We'll say they're both at 4. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, and then these 2 are at 4. As far as 5th, that's where it gets pretty hard. I want to give like an honorable rank to humans, just because air galleries are so fucking amazing. They get crossbowmen, which are good, but then so do dwarves. That's not really special. They're basically the exact same unit. Although that is only 2 races in the entire game, so maybe it is special. Really good for defense. The Knight and the Herbalist aren't bad. They're so-so. And then the air gallery is just infinitely useful. So maybe they get 5th? Maybe somewhere around there? If I had to say. The Halflings have come up so much in my estimation. I don't know where I'd put them, but definitely somewhere in the middle. Because, like I said, the Rogue is really good. Sheriff's really good. Centaur's really good. Leprechaun is way better than I thought he was. So they're definitely somewhere in the middle. The Archons are pretty damn good. They have the Charioteer, which is fucking amazing. Their Paladin's really good. Pegasus Rider's good. Their ultimate is good. Not the best at what he does, but good. I'd say they're probably 5th or 6th. Somewhere around where human is. 5th or 6th between those two. After that, I don't honestly know. The rest of them are kind of mediocre or bad. Honestly. I wouldn't call Orc bad. They'd be mediocre. They'd be somewhere in the middle. Goblin is probably somewhere in the middle because they've got the Darter, the Butcher, and their ultimate's not terrible. So yeah, somewhere in the middle. That's all the evil races. Tigrans would definitely be one of the bad ones. Just because overall I don't like them. I mean, they're the Manticore. Oh, the Beholder, duh. Is that enough to save them, though? I don't like their ultimate. I don't like their level 1s much. I don't like their level 2s much. Really, it comes down to the second best flyer. You know, below level 4, not including ultimates, the second best flyer, and the Beholder. Is that enough to make them a good race? I don't know. The Beholder is so damn good that maybe they are somewhere in the middle instead of being near the bottom. Just because of the Beholder. I don't know. The Frostlings are definitely down there. The Elves are definitely down there. The Cyrons are probably down there. Although, maybe they're somewhere in the middle. They have Shadowrunner and they have Great Warrior, but everything above that is kind of crap. So yeah, they're definitely down there. One level 2 and one level 3 that are both mediocre, not even the best at what they do, does not make a good race. So yeah, they're somewhere down in the lower quarter of races. Elves definitely terrible. Frostlings terrible. Goblins would probably be down there. Cyrons would be down there. I don't know where I put Dwarves. Would they be in the middle or in the bottom quarter? They have Berserker, they have Crossbowman, and they have Rune Master, and the Steam Tank. Yeah, they'd be more closer to the middle as far as where they rank, not somewhere near the bottom. So yeah, that should give you an idea of some kind of arbitrary ranking for all the races. I don't know, maybe Dark Elf is first and Nomad is second. It's hard to say between the two. They just have so many good units between them. It's really hard to say. If anything, the Dark Elf at least has a really good ultimate. In fact, one of my favorite ultimates in the game, in the Incarnate. I don't know. It's hard to say between the two. Nomads and Dark Elves. Really, really good. Let's see. So that's all the units. For the abilities, I think I should have gone through all of them. Just straight up going through talking about the units. But we'll go through them real quick. Anime Corpse Reses, Archery, it's only good with Marksmanship. Black Bolt's only good with Marksmanship. Black Breath is really good, but it's not as good as Fire Breath. Bombard's a piece of crap. It's too random for my liking. Cold Breath is worse than Fire and Black, but it's not bad. It's still a breath weapon. Control Animal, really situational. Dispel Magic, really situational. Divine Breath is one of the worst breath attacks. Again, it's still a breath attack. It's still good. It's just the worst of the bunch. Dominate is crap. You just use Possess. Seriously, it's infinitely better. Doomgaze is fucking amazing. One of the best attacks in the game. Drain Will, it's basically required to use Possess, so if Possess is good, Drain Will has to be good. Entangle's crap. Another Bolt spell, another Breath spell. The cannon attacks, they work just like the breath weapons, but they're attached to these two specific siege weapons, and those two specific siege weapons are shit. So, by extension, Fire Cannon and Frost Cannon. Actually, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. It's blowing. It's Frost blowing. And Flame throwing. It's those two that are crap. Fire Cannon is a really cool attack. It's the one that's on the Steam Tank. Really high attack, really high damage, really good. Fire Crossbow, great. Fire Pistol's mediocre. The problem with it isn't Fire Pistol, it's that the units that get it don't get a lot of marksmanship. I think the highest I've seen is 2. So that's the problem. Grasp, mediocre. Healing is garbage. Healing something for 5 to 10 health once per fight. You only get to cast it once. It's just garbage. Holy Bolts, same as the other bolts. Hurl Boulder, it's only on the Troll, and the Troll sucks ass. And Hurl Boulder sucks ass as a skill. Hurl Lightning, it's the same as Bombard. Fundamentally, they work the same. They're just too damn random for my liking. Hurl Firebomb, it works the same as Hurl Lightning, except it's attached to the Catapult, which also has Hurl Boulder. So it gives you two different ways to attack. You can have high attack and a fairly hard-hitting hit, or you can spread flames around. Just because of the fact that you get an option on the same unit, it's okay. Hurl stones, if I remember right, is worse. Yeah, it's worse than archery. One less attack, one more damage. As you should know by now, attack is more important than damage. So it's on the whole, it's worse than archery. Infect, very specific. It's only for one neutral unit or whatever. More bolts. Morph, I think that's changeling when it turns into something. Pixie dust. I'd say divine breath is worse than pixie dust. Pixie dust is another breath weapon, but the effect you get is random. So it could be cold or fire or death or whatever. But random is definitely better than divine breath. So yeah, it's second worst, but it's not the worst. Poison darts. I'd say they're slightly better than archery, even though they do one less damage per shot. They're poison element instead of archery. Maybe they're not slightly better. Maybe they're even because they're poison. I don't know. It's very close. Possess, fucking amazing. Ram is on. I don't think I went into this, but Ram is on the air gallery. It gives the air gallery the ability to ram an air unit and knock it to the ground. Really good ability. Like if you're fighting a red dragon, you can ram the red dragon, knock it to the ground, and then all your other units can attack the red dragon. You can just surround it and wail on it. Whereas normally you can't just straight up attack flying units with ground units. So yeah, ram is a really good ability. It's another reason why air gallery is so good. Repair machine is crap. It's just healing for machines. Resurrect, same as animate corpse. Round attack once per battle kind of makes it suck. Sabotage is stupid. Siege engines are too easy to destroy. You don't need a specialized ability to destroy them. Just attack them. Seduce is garbage. Its attack rating is terrible. Self-destruct, as far as I know, it's only on the goblin exploder guys, and I'm not in the habit of blowing up my units, so I don't really like self-destruct. Shoot javelin, it's much like fire cannon. They're both really good. This one's just slightly worse, but they're both really good. Shoot javelins, it's equivalent to the shoot javelin one shot as total damage. I think they're both 16 attack, and they both do 12 damage total, if I remember right. Oh, never mind. This is worse attack for slightly more damage. Again, you should know, attack is more important than damage, so it's worse. Spawn larva is the thing when he devours the harvester or whatever. It's crap. Spellcasting, only wizards get it, or heroes. Spread attack, it's only on the Hydra, and it kind of sucks on the Hydra. Steel enchantment, really, really situational. Steam's only on the steam tank, and it's infinite uses, area attack. Really good. Strangle, it's the melee version of Doomgaze. Obviously not as good, but still a good move. It still paralyzes. Still does damage. Taunt is useless. Throwblade is mostly garbage. I keep saying that, but having more attack... I don't know if one attack is worth the 2 damage in this case. Because, like I said earlier, you can't proc things with ranged attacks. And that's why, fundamentally, attack is more important. For the most part. Seeing as you can't proc things, this is probably just worse than archery, straight up. Throw spear, you only see it on level 1 units, and it is good for what it does. Trap, you only see it on the trapper, again, it's good for what it does. Venomous spit, it's only one shot with the same base accuracy as archery. If you hit all your archery attacks, that's 3 more damage total. So in theory, archery is better. Although this is poison element, kind of like the darts. So maybe it's equivalent. I don't know. Web, it's like a tangle. It's a piece of shit. Whirlwind is the Djinn special attack where he knocks things back. Really good attack. Pathetic damage. 3 times a day. Knocks everything around and back. It's kind of like a round attack with knockback attached, kind of. But not really. But it has its purpose. So there's all the active abilities in the game. Movement abilities... These only matter on the world map for the most part. The best one is obviously flying. You completely ignore terrain. Floating is probably second best in that you ignore terrain unless it's something that's like straight up out of the ground. Like I don't think you can float over mountains if I remember right. But for the most part, you ignore terrain, so it's really good. Free movement would be the next one up. It's almost as good as floating, except I don't believe you can go over water. I don't think. I believe. Something like that. And then you get a bunch of individual ones that are basically piecemeal. Like this one lets you go through forests. That one lets you go through mountains. That one lets you go over water. So does that one. All that stuff. The unequivocal best of the movement abilities would be haste. It just straight up gives you more points to move. These reduce movement penalties. This just gives you straight up more movement, so you can go farther. If you have flying and haste combined, you can get some ludicrous movement in. But yeah, those are the movement abilities. General enhancements, there's a metric ton of them. That only matters if they have control of animal. Bard skills, like I said, you can put like evil and good units in the same group and they won't fight. Really good ability. Blessed is a buff. Probably one of the worst in the game. Resists don't usually come into play. Death protection is decent, but immunity would be infinitely better. 1 defense, it's not that big of a difference. Probably the worst buff overall, spell buff in the game. Block's pretty good, lets you block most range attacks, gives you a ton of defense for range attacks, and then 1 melee attack. You don't see very often. It's another one that's basically relegated to low-level units, sadly. Blurred, straight up 25% chance to not get hit by melee attacks. Good stuff. That's just building stuff. That's one of the wizard abilities. Cause Fear, like I said, it's fucking amazing. It gives you a chance every time you hit something for them to run. And when they run, you get a free attack. Charge, it only matters on that first hit. Gives you a little bit more damage. Cold immunity, cold protection, cold strike. Concealment, whenever you're in brush, you get invisibility. They call it vegetation. Whatever you want to call it. You get invisibility on the world map. Very dubious use. Crusader. Another one of the worst buffs. It's down there with Blessed as far as how much its usefulness is. It's like 2 resist and willpower or whatever. In fact, at least Bless gives you the 1 defense and death protection, so yeah, it's better than Crusader. Dark Gift is really, really good. 2 damage and Death Strike. Really good combination. It's going to add a ton of damage to any unit, assuming they don't already have Death Strike, in which case it'd just be 2 damage, which isn't as good. Immunity, protection, strike, concealment. Dispel magic, very situational. Devour could be good, could be bad. Like I said, I haven't played with that unit much. Double strike, one of the best defensive moves in the game. I mean, it gives you double your attacks. Draconian Growth, it's for the little dragon guy. It lets him turn into a bigger dragon when you level him up. Dragon only comes into play if you're fighting knights, the human unit. When they hit you, they get +5 attack if you're a dragon. Basically means they're not going to miss. That's what this ability is, Dragon Slaying. That's the ability the knights get. +5 attack versus dragons. And apparently +2 versus draconians. I never knew that. That's not that huge a deal, but it is a benefit. It is 2 attack. But it's only 1 race. So, it's very specific. Where was I? Enchanted Weapon, one of the best buffs. 1 attack, 1 damage, magic strike. Good stuff. You hit more often, you do more damage. Good stuff. Energy Drain, one of the best defensive abilities. Cuts their attack and damage in half. I don't know which one's better between Cause Fear. Causing them to run and getting a free attack is pretty good, but cutting their attack and defense in half is also good. I mean, attack and damage in half. So, I don't know which one's better out of those two. They're both really good. Extra Strike, it's for neutrals only. Fire Halo gives you, I think it's Ignition and Fire Strike. Oh, and Fire Immunity. So yeah, it's good. It gives you an Elemental Strike, gives you Fire Immunity for free, and it gives you Ignite on top of that. So when things hit you, they get burned. Yeah, really good buff. Let's see, Fire Immunity, Protection, Fire Strike. First Strike, dubious value. The only time it's really going to come into play is if they're about to die, or you're about to die. That's really it. You get to hit first. You get to hit first, that's what I meant to say. Fury, 2 damage and willpower. It's better than Crusader. 2 damage is better than 2 resist, so still not one of the best buffs. Grass Concealment, and Grass. Holy Champion, already went over it many times. Holy Light is a buff from one of the casted wizard spells. You get it when you siege, if you cast a spell. Good units get +2 attack, +1 damage. Evil units get -1 defense and resist. It's just a buff for sieges. It's okay. It's not great. It's so-so. Holy Protection, Holy Strike. Ignition, already went over it. When things hit you, they burst into flames. Or there's a chance they will. They get the burn debuff. Invisibility's crap. It's only good for the world map. Leadership. Obviously amazing. Life Domain. It's another world map spell. You cast it, and when you're in your domain on the world map, you get healing every turn. Most of the time, anything that I would want to get healing wouldn't be in my domain. They'd be out in someone else's domain killing things, so I never really liked the life domain much. Life stealing, obviously really good. Liquid form, what the hell does that give you? Physical protection, that's right. Obviously physical protection kicks ass, so that's a really good buff. Let's see, magic immunity, magic relay I already went over why it's crap. Magical mount, it just blocks control animal. Marksmanship, obviously extremely useful for ranged units. It takes the piddly base attack and damage on most ranged attacks up to usable levels. Metamorphosis, not gonna lie, I don't know what the hell that is. Transform the unit into a stronger form when it reaches gold. I think that's for the demon guy. One of the little demon troll looking fucking things, it can upgrade just like the little dragon hatchling guy can when he gets EXP. They both can upgrade into stronger units. I can't remember which neutral unit it is, but one of them gets that. Mighty Meek, the worst buff in the entire game, period. The idea is that for every level advantage that the unit you're fighting has, you get 1 attack and 1 damage. The problem is, 1 attack and 1 damage per level difference isn't enough to matter. Even if you put it on a level 1 unit that's fighting like an ultimate, that's 4 attack and 4 damage to a unit that probably has 5 attack and 5 damage. That's like 9 and 9. Versus an ultimate, you're going to get ass fucked. Against a level 3, that puts them at like 8 and 8. That's against a unit that's probably going to have, at the very least, the bare minimum, like 12 and 12. You're going to get destroyed. That's not even including the massive amount of abilities they're going to have on you and the massive amount of defensive stats they're going to have on you. So yeah, Mighty Meek just doesn't do anything useful at all. Period. Let's see. Worst buff in the game. Mounted, just, you know, you have a mount. Night Vision's garbage. Pass Wall is really good for sieges. These right here just change the terrain when you move on the world map. If you have, like, Path of Decay, when you move on the world map, the ground under you turns to decayed land. Or if you have Frost, it turns into snow or whatever. If you have Path of Life, it turns into, like, luscious green foliage. That's all it does. Changes the terrain. Phase, like I said earlier, very situational. Physical immunity, none of your units that you could ever use get it. It's for neutrals only. Actually, I don't even know if a neutral gets it, honestly. I can't think of one. Physical protection, obviously good. Polearm, very situational, but good for those situations. Regeneration is kind of blah. Resurgence is kind of blah. Seeker is another buff for, I think it's ranged. Yeah, lets them ignore obstacles. I don't remember which buff gives this, but it's obviously good. Whenever you use ranged units in sieges, they become useless, basically, because they can't fire through the walls. With this, it would let them. They instantly become useful again, so yeah, good buff. Shadow Shift lets you jump to the Shadow World. I never use it much, because what the fuck's the point? I guess you could try an ambush using it, I suppose. You could figure out where you're going to go. Where you're going to end up in the Shadow World. You could try an ambush, or whatever. I don't really care. Smoky Haze is really good. The problem is it's only on 1 unit, as far as I know, and that's the Sheriff. And he can't really use it that well. Static Shield lets you proc a stun. Stone Skin just straight up gives you 3 defense, which is really good. Makes you harder to hit. Swallow Hole, that's the fat blobby guy. Trail of Darkness, it's basically just Path. It's the same as Path of Decay or Path of Frost or any of that crap. It's just got a different name. Let's see. Undead, they have special weaknesses. If I remember, actually weaknesses and bonuses, I think they can't be affected by poison and fear. I don't think they can be afraid. But they have weaknesses too, attached to that. I can't remember what they are right now, but they have some kind of weakness attached to that too. Like Turn Undead affects them and no one else, and some other stuff. What else? Wall climbing is the same as Pass Wall. Wall crushing lets you break through walls faster. And willpower means you can't be controlled. I think that's pretty much it for the enhancements. Handicaps, these are the debuffs. Blinded is from a wizard casted spell. It reduces their attack. Burning is probably, it's the second best debuff in the game, but you could argue that it's the best in theory. But I'd say it's the second best in the game. 1 health lost every turn that they have the debuff, so 3 turns, 3 damage total. That's not including if you proc the debuff again. It'd be a constant 1 health constantly if you, consistently if you keep proccing the debuff. The turn limit wouldn't matter. They also get -2 attack, which is obviously good. The best debuff would be poison, which just -2 to all their stats, straight up. You get the -2 attack from burn, and you also get -2 defense, damage, and resist. The resist isn't going to come into play much. So basically, when you break it down, it's that 1 damage per turn versus -2 attack and -2 defense and -2 damage. The 1 damage per turn compared to those two minuses. I don't honestly know which one is better. I guess it depends on the situation, but they're both really good. Let's see, where was I? Burning, charmed when they get charmed. Confusion is crap. It's from a casted spell, but it's very random. It only seems to do anything useful for your side, maybe 25% of the time. The rest of the time, they're still whacking you in the face. Curse, one of the better debuffs, but not the best. It's -2 resist, dubious. Death weakness, obviously if you have death attacks, it's good. And it prevents healing. That's not really that big a deal. Mainly it's a death weakness. If you have death attacks, it helps. Otherwise, it's not going to do much. Death weakness, like I said earlier, just they take more damage from death attacks. Dominate, it's crap. It's the dominate thing. Double gravity, you can pull all flying units to the ground with this spell, including your own. It's kind of a double-edged sword, but if they have a lot of flying units, it's worth using. What else? What is something new? Most of these are just attached to moves I've already described. Fire domain, it just spreads the fire debuff through your domain, which is obviously good. Same for poison domain, it does the same thing. It spreads poison throughout your domain to any enemies, obviously good. Frozen if they get freezed. Martyr is a terrible debuff. You lose the unit guaranteed at the end of the fight. Whether or not it died, it dies anyways. The only difference is it gets 100% extra health. I could see using this on like ultimate units who have a lot of health. You could double their health, assuming you don't mind losing them, but they're also really expensive and time consuming to make. So I just don't see the point of Martyr. I've never used it much. Mud is really good if you have a lot of ranged units. It slows everyone down, which means it takes their units a lot of time to get to you, and you get a lot of free ranged attacks in. So it is good situationally. Oily Skin reduces a lot of stats. Yeah, it's 1 to every stat, and it gives them fire weakness, which is good stuff. If you have fire attacks, obviously use it, but even if you don't, it's still -1 to all stats, which is good. Let's see. Panicked, paralyzed, physical weakness, poison domain, possessed, resurrected. Rotting is from another spell. It's another debuff. -3 attack and damage, obviously good, and -2 health per turn, obviously good. It's a good debuff. You can't proc it. It has to be from a spell. I think the spell is actually called Rot. Let's see. Shadow Sickness, blah, blah, blah. Swarmed, again, is from a spell. It just gives them -2 health per turn, I think is what it does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's -2 hit points per turn. And I think the spell is called Swarm. Taunted is crap. Vertigo, it's another debuff. I actually don't remember what this one does. -2 attack, -2 defense. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's a pretty good debuff. Weakened is from a spell called Weakness. -4 defense, -4 resist. Obviously, -4 defense is a lot. Makes them really easy to hit. Wind Ward, it is the opposite of the Seeker buff. It screws over ranged attackers. In this case, -50% to hit. So if they have the base archery 8% to, 8 attack, then they'll have 4 instead. They're never going to hit anything basically when you have Wind Ward. So yeah, that's all the buffs and debuffs in the game. I think the only thing left to talk about is the buildings. The special buildings. Oh, I guess in the spells too. Most of the spells in this game, I'm not going to lie, they're a very dubious value. The buffs are obviously good, but I've already gone over them. Bless gives you the Blessed buff. Healing is crap. Holy Light gives you the Holy Light buff. Mighty Meek gives you the Mighty Meek buff. I'm not going to go into the buffs because I've already gone over them. I'm not going to go into summoned units because, again, I've already gone over them. Unicorn, Fairy, they're all summoned units. Angel. As far as the attacks for life, they do get Sacred Wrath, which is really good. It's a true area attack in that it hits every enemy on the screen, no matter how many there are. They could have like 8 groups of 8, and you'd hit every single one of them with Sacred Wrath. It's one of the few true area attacks in the game, and it's really, really good. I think High Prayer is healing for everyone, but the problem is, let's see, blesses all friendly units. Oh, okay, so it gives them the bless buff, and it heals them all. How much does it cost? 40, holy shit balls. That is expensive. But it's really good. I mean, the bless buff for every unit, and healing for every unit, so yeah, it's still good. So, High Prayer is good. Sacred Wrath is good. Resurrect Hero is so-so. Like I said, you can only do it once. I never liked Life Domain, because like I said, I'm never in my domain when I need healing. I'm always in their domain, the enemy. Resurgence, like I said, never really liked it. I think that's probably it, honestly. High Prayer and Sacred Wrath. I don't really like their summon units. Bless is a good buff, but I don't really like the Mighty Meek buff much. I hate Martyr. Can't stand that buff. Really, I don't like Life much when you break it down, period. I just don't like their spells much. Sacred Wrath is the best thing they get, and it is fucking amazing, but there are other spell lines that get true area attacks. It's not just Life. So, it's really just, it comes down to Sacred Wrath and High Prayer, honestly. And Bless. Death gets quite a few good ones, and quite a few good summons. Like the Black Angel is under Death Spell School. Really good summon. Let's see. Animate Dead, again, it's like Resurrect once per time or whatever. Let's see. Bone Dragon is good. That's another good summon for Death Mastery. Domain of Darkness is so-so. It doesn't seem to do much to the computer, sadly. Death Ray is okay for one of the low-level attacks. Dark Gift is one of the better buffs. I know I'm missing something here. Animate Runes is pretty good if they destroy one of your towns. City Plague is okay. There's a lot of spells where you can basically infect an enemy town with some kind of problem. This is one of the worst ones, but it's not terrible. What is Damnation? I seem to be forgetting. Oh, right, yeah, it curses all enemies in your domain. Okay. So it's like Poison Domain or Fire Domain. It adds a debuff to all enemies in your area. But the problem is, Curse just straight up isn't as good as Burn or Poison. It's just straight up worse. So, yeah. I don't know, maybe I don't like Death as much as I thought I did. Now that I've actually just looked at all their spells together. I think it's because of their summons. Like I said, the Black Angel and the Bone Dragon are really good. That's probably it. That's their best spells. Air, really, all they get that I like quite a bit is Haste Domain and Haste. Haste is the targeted spell. You cast it individually on units. Haste Domain hastes every unit in your domain permanently, as long as they stay in your domain. Two really good abilities. But for the rest of the stuff, I just don't like their other stuff much. They get a bunch of attacks that aren't really anything special. Their summon units aren't really anything special. Their buffs really aren't anything special. It's basically just Haste and Haste Domain. And the Zephyr Bird. Like I said, the Zephyr Bird's an amazing scout. He's cheap as hell. So I guess, yeah, he'd probably be the MVP. Him or Haste would be the MVP for Air. They just don't get much that I like. Earth is my favorite of the domains. Pretty much by far. A lot of the global buffs that Earth gets is really, really good. They get my favorite summon, the Basilisk. They get a true area attack in Tremors, which is similar to Sacred Wrath. They get Regenerate Walls, which is actually really good. I never gave it any credit before, but it's really, really good. They try to break down your walls to get into to seize your castle. You immediately bring them back. They have to break them down again. They're basically stuck at those choke points indefinitely, or at least until you have until you run out of mana. It's really good for what it is. Crash Gates is the opposite. You instantly break down the gates, so you don't have to worry about getting stuck at choke points. You automatically have the gates broken down, and they have to come to you. They have to come out to you. They don't stay in the castle. That's just the way they're AI'd. Their AI is set up. So yeah, Crash Gate's really good. Like I said, all the global buffs like Earth's Awareness and Golden Age and Poison Domain, all those are really good. Stoning is the best low-level single target magic attack in the game. Hits 3 times and has a good attack rating. Its total damage is just really good. For a low-level, low-cost spell, really good. Stone Skin, one of the best buffs in the game. Free movement, what is it, the 3rd best movement ability in the game, and it's the only one that you can actually cast, other than floating, I think, out of those 3. Out of the 3 best, only floating and free movement can be cast, so really good. It's just, I mean, it's a laundry list. Pretty much everything Earth Mastery gets is fucking good for something. Honestly. Yeah, I love Earth Mastery. It even gets raise in lower terrain, which is cool. If you've got a mountain in your way, you can use a spell to completely erase the mountain from the world. Or you can create a mountain. If you want to create a mountain and block yourself off, you can do that. Earth Mastery is just crazy good. Fire Domain is my second favorite because of its attack spells. Hellfire is the best true area attack. Hits all enemies on the screen and does ludicrous amounts of damage and has a really good attack. Out of the non-true area attacks, out of the pseudo area attacks, they just hit a small circle on the ground. Fireball is the best in the game. So just for damage period, Fire has the best. Barring that, it has, what else? It has Fire Halo, really good buff. Forge Blast is a decent attack, a town type buff. Or debuff, or whatever you want to call it. Swarm and Mass Confusion are kind of crap. Fire Domain is it's either the best or second to best domain spell, up there with Poison. Phoenix is one of the best summons. Not the best, but one of the best. What else? That's probably it. Blinding Flash is pretty good. It rapes the hell out of their attack. -4 attack. And it cuts their movement in half. I completely forgot about that. So yeah, Fire's just, it's another one where it has a whole bunch of good stuff. Not just like a handful. Whole bunch of good usable spells. Water, much like air, is mostly crap. Air and water are my 2 least favorite by far. Really, all water has is healing showers. It's a little circle area healing thing that, unlike units, you can repeatedly cast it if you want to. It's a little miniature area heal for all the units in range. Oops. It is good, but it doesn't justify using water in and of itself. Nothing else water gets really stands out. Their summons don't stand out. Their globals don't stand out. Their buffs don't stand out. Their attacks don't stand out. None of it is really great. I mean, Mud is decent. It's specialized in that it helps your ranged units, but it's not, just generically awesome. Liquid Form is good. Forgot about that. Gives you physical protection. It's also really expensive in 10 upkeep, if I remember right. Basically, it comes down to healing showers and liquid form, really. Cosmos is all the neutral spells that everyone has access to. City Spy is situational, Dispel Magic situational. Enchant Weapon, probably the most generically useful buff in the game. Freedom's kind of crap, or at the very least it's very situational. Shadow Walking is basically vital. You have to have it to be able to fight anything in the Shadow World. Really good buff. Alter Node turns it to your mastery. Disjunction is fucking stupid. It blocks your stuff too. Magic Fist is one of the better low-level spells. It's got a good attack and it hits hard. Crappy summon. Very situational. Call Hero is decent if you don't have enough heroes. Like if you're just not finding enough, you can call one to your side. It's decent. It's a world map ability. Cosmic Spray, decent little miniature area attack. It does random status effects. By and large, I don't like random, but Cosmic Spray is decent. Double Gravity, really situational, but good if you need to bring air units down. What else? Power Leak, situational. Spell Ward, situational. Shadowhawk, really situational. Really, the MVPs of Cosmos, probably Enchant Weapon, and I don't even know. Probably just Enchant Weapon. The rest of them are either situational or just so-so, honestly. But like I said, everyone has access to Cosmos spells. You don't have to actually pick Cosmos. It's the only one that's like that. Chaos Secret they're either neutral or just abilities that aren't even in the game. Actually, in this case, it's talking about the summons. But some of those summons, like I said, they have unique abilities to them alone that no one else gets. So, yeah. Looks like Black Dragon, Golden Dragon, Chaos Lord. the penguin, and the chaos spawn. Yeah, those are the only ones I can think of. So there's all the spells. Like I said, my favorite by far is Earth. Fire would be right behind it. And then my least favorites would be air and water. Actually, my least favorite would be water. At least air has haste. I don't think healing showers and, what was it, physical protection or whatever, can compare to being able to haste all your units. That's just really, really useful. It's only one spell out of air, but it's a really useful spell. So, I'd say water is the unequivocal worst. I'd say it goes earth, fire, probably, I don't know which one is next, life or death, one of the two, and then air, water, and everyone gets Cosmos. So that's all the spells. Only thing left should be the buildings, the unique buildings. I don't even need to look them up because I've got them more or less memorized. The best by far is the Orc one, gives all its units lifestealing. Really, it's only going to matter for the Warlord and the other good units. They already get lifestealing, like the bats, the Doom bats already get lifestealing. The Butcher already gets lifestealing. It is the Butcher, right? Hold up, let me go back. Orcs. No, the Butcher is goblins. What am I saying? Yeah, it really only matters for the Warlord, honestly. I guess you could give your Glutton lifestealing. I didn't even think about that. Huh. Actually, a Glutton with lifestealing. Wow, I never thought about that. That would give him his sustain to cover up his 8 defense. Maybe he's way better than I thought. It wasn't just his 8 defense that I never used him. Why I never used him? It's because he's an ugly, blobby piece of shit. But assuming that doesn't bother you, lifestealing with 17 attack, it'd probably more or less completely cover up that 8 defense problem. And then he'd still be really good at retaliating and proccing Swallow Whole. So maybe he's way better than I gave him credit for. I never thought about him having lifestealing because I never use him. But the Doombats already get lifestealing, as you can see. The Warlord is really the only one other than the Glutton that would benefit from it. The rest of these units just aren't worth using. Even with lifestealing, they're not worth using. So yeah, it comes down to the Warlord and the Glutton. But having lifestealing on the Warlord basically makes him amazing. And probably for the Glutton too, now that I think about it. So it's still one of the best unique buildings. Just because it gives all the units lifestealing. The second best is probably the Nomad, in my opinion. Their special building lets them hurry production at half cost. Normally when you build something, it has a build time. If it's an ultimate unit, it has a significant build time, like 5-6 turns, something like that. If you hurry production, it instantly reduces the build time to 1 turn, even if it's a really high build time. The trade-off is it costs a lot. It costs a lot of resources. For the Nomad, it only costs half as much as it would for everyone else. So they can hurry production in many more situations and pump out units much faster. So it's a really good unique ability for the Nomads. Third best, I don't even know honestly, because the rest of them are of dubious value. Probably the Draconians. The Draconians building, it adds regeneration to all their units. Like I said before, I don't really love regeneration, and their Hydra already has it. So really it's only going to matter for like the Flyer and the Red Dragon. It's not bad, it's just not amazing. You know, it's only going to do anything out of combat. Once you win a fight, you get your health back. So it's like an in-between fight kind of thing. It's not terrible, it's just not game-changing or anything. But it's probably still third best out of all the unique buildings. For fourth, it'd definitely be... Actually, I can't say definitely. It'd probably be Halflings, probably. I'm trying to think. They get a little buff to their town growth and happiness just for having the unique building. But I'm pushing it at this point because really the other unique buildings, they're really dubious value. They add like buffs in sieges, which means they have to be sieging the town. And you have to have the unique building at that specific town for you to get the buff. Very situational. Yeah, I mean the human one adds like willpower, I think, if I remember right. But who gives a shit? I mean, the other unique buildings just really aren't that great. The Orc one's really good for these 2 units. The Nomad one's really good for hurrying production. The Draconian one is decent for giving the Red Dragon and the Flyer regeneration. But that's really it. That's where it ends, honestly. The other unique buildings aren't anything special. Ugh. And I think that's it for my rant. I have no idea how long I've gone. I haven't been timing it. I don't really care. If it's a 3-hour video, it'll be a 3-hour video. I can live with that. But yeah, that's a breakdown of all the units, all the races, all the spells, all the abilities, all the buildings that you know, all the special buildings, pretty much everything for this entire game. So if you've paid attention and absorbed all this, you know as much as I do now about Age of Wonders Shadow Magic. Literally, you know as much as I do, because I didn't leave anything out. Yeah, and I'm about to start up the Let's Play again, which means that once I start it up, you'll know exactly what's going on. In theory, if you watch the whole video and you somehow absorbed all this information, you'll know exactly what's going on in a relatively complicated game. But yeah, I'm up to I think like 18 episodes at the moment. Definitely gonna do quite a few more. I probably won't finish the playthrough yet, because that's probably gonna take 30 more episodes or so. I'll probably do another 10 to 15-ish, and then I'll put it on hold again, and then I'll bring it back. But I don't know. I love this game. I really do. Probably my favorite strategy game of all time. And I just felt like ranting about it. But anyways, I will see you guys next time.